Welcome back, everybody, to the newest episode of Vikings Uncovered. I am your host, RabbitDad. Find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at FFRabbitDad. Sorry I missed you guys last week. Had some technical difficulties at the last second, and, well, it happens. But let's just get into the episode. Vikings are 11-2. Still rolling, still fighting strong. Gosh, that was an amazing win last week that we desperately wanted to see a beatdown. Before we get into that, I need to say one thing I need to get off my chest. Since he was brought into the team, I've never been a big fan, never had full belief in Kevin O'Connell till now. I saw him as the token offensive coordinator who didn't call plays for the Rams, being in a elite, highly regarded coaching tree system with Sean McVay over there. I felt like he was just riding those coattails into a job. And then the whole quarterback whisperer thing that people have talked about for years. I mean, he came in and he had Kirk Cousins. And yeah, Kirk Cousins was on track to have his best season ever last season. But the fact that what he and the team, the coaches, the players, Sam Darnold has done to revitalize Sam Darnold's career, just that. Kevin O'Connell, I apologize for doubting you. My sincerest apologies. Keep kicking ass. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing wonderful things. Thank you for coaching this team. All right, I got that out of the way. Let's move on. Vikings win last week, 42-21, with 21 points in the fourth quarter alone. Oh, that was fun. It's just, we needed to see a beat-down win. And the fact that it was against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons made it a little bit sweeter. The Vikings had 0 turnovers. They were +3 in the turnovers category. Time possession was about even. So it's just, when you can drop 21 points in the fourth quarter against anybody, anytime, that's a real competitive team right there. Just flip a switch and boom, 21 points. Doesn't matter what the score was before that because now it's a totally different game. The defense it was solid. On the stat card, it didn't really do a whole lot. My favorite stat was the 9 passes defended, and 6 of those were by non-secondary players, so linebackers and defensive linemen. That's super fun to see, just them getting their hands up and swatting those balls down on defense. It's just further evidence of how well the defense is doing. They're all doing their jobs. Only 1 sack, and 4 quarterback hits. Like, we want to see more, especially against Kirk Cousins, who spends like 99% of his time in the pocket. It wasn't the best week for the defensive line other than batting down passes. But, that needs to come back. We need to get back to the 2, 3, 4 sacks a game thing. More hits on the quarterback, too. More tackles for losses. Byron Murphy, 6th interception this season, which is awesome. And it's the most interceptions by a cornerback for the Vikings since Jimmy Hitchcock did it in, brace yourselves for this one, 1998. If you didn't recognize the name Hitchcock, you probably recognize the year 98. That was an interesting year, which we could totally talk about now. But regardless, 98. Last time a cornerback for the Vikings had this many interceptions. But that's a fun stat. There might be people watching this who weren't even born when that happened. But regardless, I'm going to stop dating myself. Jamin Davis, welcome to the team. First sack as a Viking. If you're not familiar with him, that's understandable. He's only been with the team for 2 games. He's only been active for 2 games. He was with Washington before that. He was a first-round pick out of Kentucky in 2019. Obviously, first-round pick. A lot of promise there. He never really showed it. I think the most sacks he had in a year was like 3. He had 108 tackles one year. So fine. They had moved on from him. The Washington cut him. We decided to pick him up. And I'm excited to see what he could possibly do. Filling in, playing a little, doing a little bit of the fill-in time while Pace still recovers from injury. And if anybody else were to, need some time, take a series off, take a few plays off here and there. Heaven forbid another injury to a player. We don't want that. But Jamin Davis, if Brian Flores can do with like these players that other teams don't want, like he wanted Pace. As soon as the draft was over, he was basically said to Quasi, get me that kid. I want him on my team. And we all saw what Pace did last year, leading the team in tackles. He's been a force this year when he's been on the field. Cashman, Van Ginkel, good players who are just playing at their absolute best. I want to see what Jamin Davis could possibly become. Maybe he'll live up to that potential. Maybe we've got a potential all-pro we just picked up off the waiver wire. That would be awesome. The more the merrier. More mouths to feed, more eating to be had. Josh Metellus, he had an interception last week. He had another 7 tackles. Cashman had 7 tackles. He knocked down a couple passes. Jalen Redmond is a fun story, too. Another undrafted guy who come in seemingly out of nowhere and just making it look like every day Tuesday when he goes out on their field. 4 tackles, 2 for loss. He knocked down a couple of passes. The number of guys, the fact that you can look at this Viking defense every single week and you could pick out somebody who you did not think was going to show up big on the stat card, it happens every week. Jamin Davis, Jalen Redmond, Dallas Turner, his snap count has gone up again. It's the 3rd week in a row it's gone up. It was 20, 21, 32, 35% now. It's gradually getting up there. I don't think it's going to get a whole lot higher, but it shows that he's getting time on the field to do his thing, make some plays. He had a couple of almost big plays in the last game. There was one earlier in the game where he got a good hit on Cousins. Half a step faster probably would have disrupted the pass or maybe even have been a sack. We'll never know, but it's nice to see that he's getting out there and he is potentially making plays. He's being relevant when he's on the field. He's making the other team have to accommodate for him. And then because I missed last week's episode, shout out to Jonathan Grenard, Defensive Player of the Month for November, or NFC Defensive Player of the Month for November. Kudos, Grenard. Love what you're doing, man. Keep it up. All right, offensive side. Really quick, we'll just do this really quick. Offense, 8 for 12, 8 of 12 for third downs. Great number. 75% that's not 75. That's 66.7%. 2/3. That's right. Excuse me. So the third down conversion rate is great. I also meant to touch on last week. Somebody else wants Kevin O'Connell talking about Cousins and working with him, and he was asked by one of the journalists down around here. So you got anything special set up for Kirk Cousins? And KOC basically said he basically didn't answer the question. He says he respects him and everything, but he had things schemed up. Him and Flores both working with the guy the last couple of years. They had things schemed up to just irritate him, and it's just another reason why coach speak is so garbage. Don't like it. They lie 90% of the time. O'Connell's probably one of them that lies less than most, but still. All right, offensive line. Here's our downer for the week. They gave up 4 sacks. And that's 4 sacks this week. It was 5 last week. They gave up 4 sacks to a team that had 10 sacks 2 weeks on the season 2 weeks ago. Falcons had 10 sacks through the first 11 games. They had 5 last week. They had 4 against the Vikings this last week. 5 2 weeks ago, 4 last week. So maybe they're getting it together, or maybe the offensive line is showing some holes. Robinson's been good. the tackles are fine. There's nothing. It's the guard play. It's Brandell. It's Reisner. It's Ingram a little bit when he was in there. Obviously, he hasn't played much recently. They've been leaning on Reisner to do that, which is, fine, good and all. But, yeah, the offensive line is showing some holes in the middle. People are getting through, causing problems. Luckily, Sam Darnold has the ability to scramble, move, get out of the way, which that pass that he threw to JJ, it's not even about the fact that the dude fell on his face in coverage after he went the wrong way. It's that Darnold, it's happened like a dozen times in games this year where he's like, oh, he's going to get sacked, and he shakes the guy off or spins around or doesn't fall down and throws the ball and gets it out of there. Turns a potential sack into a 6, 7, 8 yard first down, or even just throwing it incomplete. It's better than a sack. But yeah, offensive line, tighten it up, guys. We need to protect our quarterback. Speaking of the quarterback, Sam Darnold, 22 of 28, 347, 5 touchdowns. That was nice. So good. It's probably his best game of his career. 347 yards and 5 touchdowns. He'd never thrown 5 touchdowns before. Lots of quarterbacks have never thrown 5 scores in a professional game. Give it up, man. You got hit. The offensive line, yeah, they gave up a few sacks. They gave him some pressures, but other than that, Darnold was in his zone, connecting on passes all over the place. Maybe only to like 4 or 5 different guys, but still. The running game, Aaron Jones, 13 carries for 73 yards in the score. Cam Akers, 5 carries for 37 yards. So some solid play on the ground. Obviously, the passing game is where everything came from. But, ground game getting it done, picking up yards and staying healthy and getting 6 points. Justin Jefferson, excuse me, 7 of 7, 132 yards, 2 scores. In every way, shape, and form, his stat line gets dwarfed by Jordan Addison, who had 12 targets, caught 8 of them for 133 yards and 3 scores. It's not going to happen often, but when those two guys go for 130 and multiple scores, is there even a reason to continue the game at that point? I mean, both teams put in all your backups, kneel on the ball, just give up. I know it's not going to happen. It's not how the game works. People are going to play. People are going to try. They're going to. A couple years ago, coming back from down 33 at half, and we saw the Vikings do that. So anything from 33 points and less is it's easy. You can come back from it, but still, 265 yards from those two guys. It's amazing. 5 scores, all of those guys. Amazing. The only wide receivers on the team who had a catch or a target. That's fine. The other guys are out there, running routes, blocks, doing stuff. Sorry. Just looking over at my rabbit. We got a new one. Never mind. I'll talk about it later. Where was I? Yes. Wide receivers, we talked about them. Tight ends. TJ Hawkinson. He caught 3 of 5 passes for 45 yards. Oliver caught one of his 2 passes. It was a 26-yarder, so nice big game there. Only 1 catch. That's fine. So, passing games doing the receivers are doing their thing. The running backs are doing their thing. Quarterback's doing his thing. Special teams, 6. Reichert, welcome back. 6 for 6 on PATs. You did unfortunately miss a field goal. It happens. We don't need perfection, and we don't have perfection from him. We missed a couple earlier in the game that he came up lame in with that quad injury. But he held all of his PATs. It's all you need to do. You can hit it from 33 yards every single time. We're good. Get within 40. Vikings can get within 40 pretty much every time. So, All right, let's talk about the Bears. The Bears are coming to town for the second time, or the second mad meeting this season between the teams. White out. In case you're going to the game or you're going to watch it, everybody's wearing white. So I put on my white ears today. Got my white jersey on. I'll throw back to Percy Harvin white jersey. Yeah, it's the one of two that I have, and I couldn't find the Brad Johnson jersey. So this will be the 128th meeting between the two teams. Vikings lead the all-time battle, 67 wins, 58 losses, 2 ties. And Minnesota won 7 of the last 9, including the previous one in Week 12, where Minnesota won in overtime 30-27. The Bears have lost 7 games in a row since starting the season 4-2. When everyone was talking about, oh, look at the NFC North. All the teams are over 500. They've all got a positive point differential. They're all doing great. And then the rug gets pulled out from under the Bears. They start having catastrophically weird finishes to games. Blocked kick against the Packers, the Hail Mary against Washington. I'm sure some people got shook by that Chiefs doinker that doinked in. Just any Bears fan watching that probably saw it go in and had PTSD moments. I'm sorry, Bears fans. It's been a really crappy year for you. But at the same time, you were fooling yourselves if you thought that this was a serious contender of a team with a rookie quarterback and a head coach who was on his last leg. And since we know now he's been fired, that kind of says it there. Anywho, the Bears, their point differential is at minus 24. During their 7-game losing streak, their point differential is minus 71. They've given up 71 more points in the last 7 games than they've scored. I mean, it feels like, the Bears from a couple years ago. I mean, it's going to get better, Chicago. It's going to get better. I promise it will. Just not this week. So, Caleb Williams, last week for the Bears, threw 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nice day. In Week 12 against the Vikings, it was 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it was 6 carries for 33 yards. So very nice day. Overall, fantasy-wise, a lot of that came in the second half for his stats. But that's the thing about Caleb Williams. He's been doing a lot of second half work. Almost like he figures out what he's doing wrong in the first half and changes it in the second half. He's learning. It's progress. It shows good potential. It's promise. I like the future for you, Chicago. DeAndre Swift, last week, 14 carries for 38 yards. Week 12 against the Vikings, 13 carries for 30 yards and 3 catches for 35 yards. So, the 35 yards on top is nice, but it's still, he's going to, if he even plays, he's going to struggle. And if he doesn't play, well, we'll get into the injury part in a little bit. Let's finish out these offensive players for the Bears. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, the big 3 receivers who in their last game they lost, and I forgot who they lost to. Doesn't matter. Moore, 6 catches, 49 yards. Allen, 3 catches for 30. Odunze, 4 catches for 42 yards and 2 scores. He was on my bench in Dynasty. Of course he was. Didn't matter. I still had the highest score on the week in that league. Anywho, week 12 against the Bears against the Vikings. Moore was 7 catches, 106 yards and a score. Keenan Allen, 9 catches for 86 and a score. Odunze, 5 catches for 39. I mean, obviously, out of 340 passing yards, there's plenty to go around for those 3 wide receivers. Komet, even when he played against us in Week 12, 7 catches for 64 yards. The ball is going to get thrown around. The Vikings need to jump on top of that. All right. Bears defense last week, 5 sacks, hit the quarterback 8 times, 5 tackles for losses, and 6 passes defended. Pretty nice overall when you're looking at the Bears defensively. They just couldn't pull out the win. Of course, they also lost by like 25 points. So I remember that part, but for some reason it's still escaping me who they played. But again, not important. All right, so the Bears defense on the year, 7.9 yards per pass, third most in the league. They are averaging just one passing touchdown per game, which is tied for the fourth fewest in the league. The yards per reception is 12.4 that they're allowing, which is the second most. They've allowed 47 catches of 20 or more yards, which is the fifth most in the league. And then there's 4.79 yards per carry is the fifth most in the league too. The defense for the Bears is definitely beatable. They're just, for some reason, the touchdowns aren't coming through the passing game, which is, that's fine. Rack up the yards. Let's see Jefferson and Addison go for 130 each again. That'd be awesome. Players to talk about on the Bears defense. We have to talk about Jalen Johnson again, because last time they played, Jalen Johnson, him and Bynum, basically, they bracketed Jefferson the whole game, and he had 2 catches. I had it in here, 2 catches for 27 yards. So it was not a great day for JJ. I could see them doing it again. It kind of worked. They just, they couldn't hold it out the overtime. So I could definitely see it happen, seeing Johnson and Bynum just on top and underneath JJ Jefferson all day long and just limiting him. But then that opens up the field for Hawkinson and Addison and Naylor or Powell or anybody. Montez Sweat, he's got 4.5 sacks on the year for the Bears. He's still a threat all the time to get sacks, pressure the quarterback, make plays in the backfield. And then we'll talk about Tyreek Stevenson, who leads the team in pass defended with 9 this year. He also has the Bears' only defensive touchdown, which was a 43-yard pick six. He's also famously memed for the guy standing back at the end zone during the game, during the Hail Mary, before the Hail Mary against Washington, where he's raising his arms up, trying to get like, yeah, look, we win. And then, the 0.5% chance thing happens, and the Bears lose that one ridiculously. But I mean, he's going to be out there. He's probably going to, if they do bracket Jefferson, then it's going to be on Stevenson to cover either Addison or Sherfield or Naylor or any of the other guys. He's going to be one-on-one or in single zone coverage with another dangerous Vikings receiver. So somebody to keep an eye on. He's not a chump. He's a skilled NFL defender. He's not the best in the league. He's definitely not the worst, but just somebody else that could show up on our screens in a way that makes us say, Anywho. All right, so injuries. And obviously we have an extra day because Vikings are playing Monday night this week, but Gilmore, really the only thing to talk about on the Viking side of the injury report. It sounds like questionable still, but it also sounds like trending to playing. Cool if he does, cool if he doesn't. I think Fabian Moreau has done fine. His first game, he started out a little shaky, gave up some big plays, but then he locked it down, shook off that pass interference penalty. That was clear he screwed up on that one. But I think he's done fine. So if he's still there, I'm good with it. Shaq Griffin comes in and does his thing. Or if we get Gilmore back, awesome. Love having the former Defensive Player of the Year out active on the field. Bears side of the ball, we'll talk about the running backs. DeAndre Swift, questionable with the groin. Roschon Johnson, questionable from concussion. I'm guessing Johnson doesn't play. And if Swift doesn't play, they go to Travis Minor, and unless he didn't get called back up, Darrington Evans If you don't know those names, I don't blame you. I do, because I pay too much attention to fantasy football. But regardless, whoever is running the ball for the Bears is going to have a horrible day. Any 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them, it's not going to be good. Yeah, if Minor is the starter, you could just leave 5 in the box all day and just cover the pass, because I don't think it's going to be that tough. And also, defensive lineman Gervon Dexter is also questionable with a knee issue for the Bears. That could seriously hinder their ability to stop the run, which they're already not great at. But we'll see what happens. Let's move into the betting. We're rounding out the end of this episode real quick. I went on a little long. I apologize, but So right now, betting lines, money line. Vikings minus 350, Bears plus 260. That's chump money. Don't take that. It's not a value bet, because they're not winning. The Vikings are going to win this game. Vikings are favored by 7. The over-under is 43.5. Because of the last game being only 3-point difference, which, yes, it was like, I think it was 3.5 or 4-point spread. And I said, take the, give the Bears their 4. Take that one, and that hit. Granted, it was nerve-wrenching and blood pressure, high blood pressure inducing, but it worked, and I hit that one. I think this is not falling into that category. We're at home. Our fans, Vikings fans, have been amazing all year. It's going to be a whiteout. It's going to be loud and obnoxious. And the Bears aren't going to be able to control the clock because of the lack of a sufficient running game. Vikings are winning by 2 scores. It's, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 points, something like that. It's only going to be probably because we shut down offensive players in the fourth quarters. Because, all right, we're good. We win this game. Vikings win this game, and they're officially locked for the playoffs. Even with 11 wins right now, they're not officially locked for the playoffs. But and that's because the Rams won on Thursday. Otherwise, I think that would have locked it up. But regardless, Vikings win, they're in. That's it. Once we get far enough ahead, you start pulling the guys in the fourth quarter. You just coast. Let some other guys put some numbers on their stat cards. It's going to be easy. Anytime touchdown, Addison. It's absolutely Jordan Addison. There's no way he doesn't score a touchdown, maybe 2. And it's because I expect the Bears to go back to doubling up on Jefferson, taking him out of the equation. And then you got Addison, and you got Hawkinson, and you got Munt, Oliver. If we score 5 touchdowns, it could be 5 different guys all named not Jefferson. It absolutely could be. And we could have one of them beat Jefferson. He only needs one play to do it. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL, and we all know it. So he's got the ability to do it. Fantasy look, obviously you're starting Jefferson. You might not like it. You're starting Aaron Jones, Addison, Hawkinson, Darnold. Start them. Bears side, I think you can still got to start Moore and Allen. They're going to see 10 targets or more each. I'm sure, even if they even only catch 5 or 6 of their targets, they're going to go for 70, 80 yards, maybe 100. Maybe they get into the end zone. Keenan Allen's got this way of doing things to getting still go back to thinking of that, 22 catch game, 200, his career best game that he had against us last year when he was playing with the Chargers. I mean, I'm sure that rattles around in his head. I'm sure that rattles around in the head of some of the Vikings defensive players. But, Moore and Allen, the only 2 for sure that I would say on the Bears offense to start for fantasy. Defensive side, you could take a shot with the Vikings defense. I mean, you're hoping for a couple turnovers, maybe a pick 6. You probably get a couple of sacks, but also the score could get up. I mean, we gave up 27 points to them a couple weeks ago. So there's I'm not guaranteeing you get a good, but at the same time, it's playoff time if you're playing fantasy. probably just going with them because you have them. Don't feel scared. Don't feel like you have to. You could bench them for a week and just pick up an extra defense. Probably I would. You could make an argument to use Cole Kmet in fantasy for the Bears. Like I said, he had 7 catches for 64 yards in week 12 against us. So there's that. And then if you're starting any of those 3 pieces of the passing game, I'd say Caleb Williams is worth a start too. Plus he's got that rushing floor. And let's finish out with, like we said, Vikings win. It's playoff time. It's absolute playoffs. No, there's nothing stopping us that we're in. Then obviously the playoff picture, there's some moving and shaking. It's not a whole lot with the Vikings. Basically at this point, the Vikings are either going to have the first round bye or they're going to be the 5th seed. It's funny. The team with the second best division or second best record in the entire conference might be a wild card team. Will be, because it's either going to be us or the Lions. The Lions will play the Bears this week. Big time game. If the Bears lose, or the Bills. Oh, sorry. Fighting a cold, partially medicated. Here we go. The Lions and the Bills. The Lions, they've got injury issues. They've had them all year. They've been mounting. I think they're getting a couple guys back this week. But if the Bills win, and they absolutely could, if the Bills win, then it's, we just need to, if the Bills win, we need to beat the Lions, and then we would have, we'd beat the Lions in week 18 if we win out, and we take the division. So Vikings fans, put on your red and blue for tomorrow, for Sunday, and then strip on the white for Thursday, for Monday. Cheer on those Bills. Cheer on those Vikings. Let's get win number 12. The season's been great. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Peace out. Skol.